Hi, sweetie, I'm glad you're home. Oh, things were looking up. I had the crappiest day ever. I spilled coffee on my pants at breakfast and had to change before work. As I was changing, I noticed my shirt was stained too, and I had to take the time to change it and add another tie. So I went to work late, which resulted in me driving a little too fast, which resulted in me getting a speeding ticket in a school zone. I don't know about where you live and work, but here it's like driving past a school bus with your headlights on. $1,000 fine. Of course, that meant another delay while the cop checked my license, registration, and insurance and impounded my car for unpaid fines. I didn't remember any unpaid fines. It had to be my wife. She liked my car for shopping trips because it had a bigger trunk. After the policeman finished his lecture, I arrived at work and found my boss angry that I had missed the weekly production meeting. After an hour of him scolding my ass, me giving him a personal report on production in my department, and me kissing his ass, he fired me. Turns out some young pretty boy sold him a flyer on how to run my department better, and my skipping the meeting was the last straw. I went to clean off my desk, and just as I was finishing up, the phone rang. I answer it myself as my secretary has already been reassigned, and it's my daughter. She speaks quickly. All I can get out of her is blah, 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 blah about the new guy, blah, 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 blah about the really hot blah, 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 blah about the weekend, blah, 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 blah about living together, blah, 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 blah about being pregnant, blah, 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 blah about the big wedding next week. Oh, okay. I called my son to see if he knew what his sister was thinking. My son had better news. He was going to take a year off from college to hike in the foothills of the Himalayas in search of the meaning of life with Guru Maha Mini 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 Ha 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 or something like that. He will be out of touch for at least 3 months, but will definitely keep a diary and publish it as a blog when he finishes his trek. I walked out of the office building and caught a cab to downtown to find out how to get my car back. But it wouldn't be fully processed until the next day, and I'd have to appear before a judge to get it under the new trespasser law the city had just passed. So I caught another cab, the driver of which smelled like a goat and spoke barely passable English in a dialect that seemed to be something between Scots and Swahili. So I got out of the car and ended the ride about a mile from home at my favorite neighborhood drinking establishment. The keg on my favorite tap had gone bad and the beer was flat and sour. My favorite bourbon had run out and my favorite waitress was on vacation, leaving me with toothless Terry, the grumpiest, bitchiest man-hater you'll ever meet, so I opted for Old Bushmills and decided to pass the time by brooding and crying into my whiskey. A drunken fool who mistook my ass for a bullseye on a dartboard had all but laughed at me, but at least my friend Roscoe, the bartender, had the sense to escort the guy out before I blew his head off. When Terry pulled her cottage cheese and first aid kit up to me and said, "Let me help your asshole," I left. So I floated home, chugged my whiskey, found a decent Tennessee drink in my liquor cabinet, and was just settling into a comfortable chair in a fairly dark room when I was greeted by my wife's song. "Hi, sweetie. I'm glad you're home." Beat 1. She then turned on the light and opened the curtains. So much for appropriate darkness. Strike 2. She was messing around with the fire. I have good news and bad news. I hate those damn jokes. They're just never right. Forget the funny ones. They're just very wrong. Strike 3. I was about to call her out and kick her out of my fucking game when she continued. God damn her. This woman's voice was music to my ears, and I couldn't call her out now. The good news is that I've found my soulmate. Oh, shit. Could I invent a 4th strike? Can I decree that strike 4 is a particularly harsh punishment? Strike 4. The bad news is I want your blessing and divorce. Logic would suggest a 5th strike, but that wasn't the case. In fact, the good news was good and the bad news was very good. But she continued. Before you react, I offer the most generous of agreements. I intend to take nothing but clothing and personal hygiene items. I renounce any claim to joint property or financial support now or in the future. Let me see, I had some good news, then some really good news, and here I am already canceling strike 3 and strike 4, not calling an out or getting ejected from the game. The kids are grown and they'll always tie us to the old life. We'll see each other at weddings, children's parties, all those nice events. Oh. She's leaving, but I'll still have to see her. So you will see me. I can recover the 3rd stroke. And Teddy is very sensitive about him taking me away from you in your golden years. He knows you weren't expecting it, and he's agreed to let me make conjugal visits on your birthday and our wedding anniversary every year. So that's good news, too. Oh, no, it wasn't. I had to talk her out of it. Phew, that was a small blessing. No, seriously, if you haven't figured it out yet, my wife Sally was the worst slut in the history of sex. So the bad news here wasn't so bad, and the good news was great. After all, a divorce would mean I was out of jail. I figured I'd play it to the hilt. Sally was not known for her stubbornness. She was clearly determined to leave me for Teddy. However, Sally was soft-spoken and very compassionate. This would require some acting skills on my part. Teddy? Snort, snort. I dropped my jaw and lowered my face. Her cheerful expression faded. I'm sure she was expecting a reaction, but not upset. We hadn't been very passionate lately, but we'd always been nice and cozy. Perhaps she was expecting anger or stoicism, but both were part of my normal set of emotional reactions. Teddy Worth-Atten from the country club? Yes, honey, Teddy Worth. You cheated on me with Teddy. No! We did not cheat on you. We purposely abstained from sex until after you and I were divorced. I made a vow to you that I intend to keep. Okay. They didn't have sex. Oh, yeah, I believed Sally. She'd always been painfully honest, and I'm pretty sure there was something in her brain that made lying impossible for her. That meant that Teddy would remain in the dark about what a badass Sally was, and he can't wait to get a taste of her goodies. Yeah, I could definitely play on that. But then again, you also swore as long as we're both alive. I've been counting on that for all of my 25 years. And now that I'm too old to start over, you're going to leave me alone? Am I going to spend my golden years in this old, empty house with only the ghosts of you and our children to keep me company? I had so entered into my part that I felt tears come to my eyes, and I made not the slightest effort to stop them. She rushed to take me in her arms to comfort me, but just at that moment I recoiled from her. Stop it! Just stop! Don't touch me! You think you can break my heart and comfort me in any way? It's like pouring salt on the wounds. And these conjugal visits of yours? I've loved you all my life like no other. I'd walk through fire for you, and you do this to me? Amazing, darling. You're going to spend the rest of your life broken and alone. Thank you, Sally. Thank you so much. Now at least leave me with my dignity and go with your meager comfort and your twice-a-year merciful sex sessions. I have everything, so I'll steal your wife just for the fun of it. Teddy Worth-a-Lot. Leave me here to try and find something to do. Oh, honey, you have so much to do. You've got a great job, beautiful vintage cars. Beautiful. That set off a howl from me. I recounted how I'd been pulled over for speeding, had my vintage Eldorado impounded because of fines, and then got fired before she delivered her good news. By the time I was done, she was in tears and, sobbing, ran out of the house. She made it to the driveway. There was a brand-new Jaguar parked there. She got into it, but it did not drive away. After a while, she got out again and brought Teddy Worth-a-Lot into my house. She let him speak. Jim, I'm so sorry. This wasn't planned, but for the past few months, Sally and I have been spending a lot of time together, working on various community and charity projects. We've become close. Over work lunches and parties, we found that we had many common interests, and a strong emotional connection developed between us. We dated on social media for about a month, I can't lie, but we didn't do much more than hold hands and occasionally exchange chaste kisses. When we decided to pursue an exclusive relationship, we hoped to spare you the pain. Sally thought you would react calmly and eventually agree to what she wanted out of the rest of her life. We didn't expect you to take it so hard. Nevertheless, we both really want to realize this dream, so I'm willing to make things easier for you in exchange for your acceptance of the inevitable. I've spent my whole life trying not to flaunt my wealth and trying to use it to make the world a better place, so it's very strange to me that you think of me as Sally. How did he put it? Mister, I have everything, so I'm stealing your wife just for the fun of it, Teddy Worth-a-Lot. Yes, quite painful, but I understand you. So in return for your understanding, I am prepared to offer you some very pleasant compensations. First, I am on the board of directors of your company. We'll hold our monthly meeting on Friday. Prior to that meeting, the law firm of Cox and Coles will send a representative to the chairman with a wrongful termination suit for age discrimination against the company and your former boss. I'll make sure you are handsomely compensated for your losses in the form of an extremely attractive golden parachute, partially funded by a severe pay cut for both your former boss and the little toad he hired to replace you. A good start, I thought. Just gotta forget about inventing the fourth strike. Further, I cannot replace the loss of your wife in your golden years, as she is, as you put it. I can, however, offer you ways to attract sufficient female society, both long and short-term, as you wish. I have a home in the harbor with a lovely 4-bedroom apartment, a 50-foot dock, and a yacht club membership. It's yours at no cost, with 15 years' worth of membership dues prepaid. Strike 3, strike 3. I'll pay your parking tickets and get your car out of the impound lot. Since old cars are your passion, I have a 72 Dino 246 GT in my garage in West Palm that could use some care. The car is like new, but it has been stored for years and I wanted to sell it to someone who cares. I believe you will love this car and treasure it as it should be treasured. Although you are not a woman like Sally, driving it around classic car meets on a sunny summer day will make you look very sexy, and maybe it will help you find someone to fill the void that Sally will leave behind. Yes, Teddy did have money, and he wasn't afraid to use it. I had to be careful not to hint that he was buying my wife. I was actually pleased with how far he'd gotten and didn't want to mess it up. Second strike? What second strike? I never said it was a second strike, did I? Next, I have a small townhouse in New Hampshire. I bought it for my son when he was learning to ski, but it didn't last long and no one ever used it. I know you like to ski, and this place is very nice. It has a maid service, and I'll even leave the Jeep in the garage. Sorry, it's a new Jeep, and I know you like classic cars, but it's very reliable in freezing temperatures and even in very deep snow, so I think you'll like it. You like skiing? Hell, I did, but Sally didn't. So we rarely went there and never for longer than a day or two. So, money, a condo on the water, a condo on the slopes, a Jeep, a classic Ferrari, my caddy in the garage, and a significant financial settlement. The first blow is crossed out. But I had to keep my cool. I don't know. How can I accept this in exchange for the love of my life? That's very generous, Teddy, but we just don't have the money to replace Sally. You've won. Take her. I don't need compensation. Don't look at it as compensation. Look at it as our fault. We can't help but be in love. We want you to be happy too, so we want to ease your suffering. Ease my suffering? Wait till he fucks her. Damn, she turned me on to bad news. I'm leaving. I haven't stopped repeating my inner woo-hoo since. Great. I don't want to stand in the way of Sally's peace and contentment. Peace and contentment. Where the hell did I get that from? Just send me the papers. I'll sign them right away. Teddy pulled out his phone and turned away, talking to someone. Sally rushed toward me, squealing with delight. I stopped her. Please, Sally, no. I'm a little fragile right now. I'm afraid that hugging you will bring back the pain. Maybe sometime in the future, but right now, I repeat, give me my dignity. For your sake and for the sake of living in love with you, I'm going to humble myself and let you go. If you don't need me anymore, I still want you to be happy. Oh, sweetie, it's not that I don't want you. In fact, I'd like you to agree to my visits to your bed on special occasions. I still want to share a part of my life with you. I can't. It's going to hurt a lot when you leave. It's better to break it off and remember the good times. So there I was, still playing the brave martyr. The brave, soon-to-be rich, retired, and lonely martyr. Just give me one more promise. What, my love? Stay my wife until the divorce is final. Would it mean much if you honored our fidelity until it's official? Will you do something for me? I was pretty sure Teddy was planning to turn on my beautiful, now-deceased wife as soon as they left. Heck, he was wearing Armani and she was wearing a 9, and they were probably going to go into town to celebrate. But I know Sally. Always honest, always compassionate, always truthful. Well, almost true. She may not have slept with him, but the kind of intimacy that takes a woman away from her husband is cheating too, only without the ecstasy. Wait, did I say without correctly? I should keep the whole metaphor French, so without the lesser mortals. I love that the French call ecstasy little death. It's that heart-stopping moment when nothing in your life matters except coming. Something I was looking forward to, and Teddy was going to find a less intense effect than the French label said. Teddy, don't give up hope. You really got fucked today, but not by Sally. There was a knock at the door. Two gentlemen in suits came through the door and Teddy answered it. He actually had his own lawyer living on the next street over in the tradition of Lincoln's lawyer, with a laptop and printer in the back room, with pre-written divorce contracts and agreements ready to be filled out. They drove up while the paralegal notary typed, printed out the documents, and in a few minutes I was already signing the document terminating my marriage and the post-wedding dowry from her new fiancé. Yes, I said fiancé, because as soon as I put down my pen, he put a ring on her finger and popped the question. I guess he thought he'd made the final push, but he hadn't heard about my last words with Sally yet. As they were leaving the house, she told him about it. The last thing I heard from her as they left was, "Sweetie, I talked to Jim while you were on the phone with the lawyer. I promised him I wouldn't be unfaithful, so no relationship until the divorce is final, okay?" Then I heard his last word. "What?" And I moved on. The company received an obscene amount of money. I took my newfound wealth to Teddy. Then I went on a trip around the world. There were many lovely ladies on board, and I tried a few. They all conformed to the lovely French mortal. Heck, they were like that at all. I was away for the duration of a final divorce decree, anchored in the Mediterranean with the daughter of an Italian winemaker who was partial to vintage Ferraris. Sally's letter read, "It's over, Jim. The divorce is final. I don't regret loving you or our life with the kids. Thank you for that. And thank you for caring so much about Teddy and me. I appreciate that. But I regret losing you. I wanted all of this, but I couldn't have both of you at the same time. I will always love you." Teddy's letter was much less verbose, but no less emotional. It read, "Fuck you. I gave you the whole world for the worst sex in history." And so it was. 2 months later, my cruise ship docked in Florida. I stepped off the ship, grinning from ear to ear. The porter was rolling a cart full of my luggage and acquisitions after all those moms at sea. I was tanned. I was in shape after my daily trips to the fitness club. I felt like a stud after sampling the cuisine and women of dozens of cultures. I asked the housekeeper to park my Escalade in the parking lot so I could drive myself home, but as we approached, I saw Sally leaning against the familiar dark Jag parked next to it. She smiled and stepped closer, trying not to scare me off with a hug. I told you she was sensitive. However, I had made tremendous progress in healing during the trip. I took her in my arms and hugged her. "It's good to see you, Sally." "It's good to see you too, Jim, and I really mean it. Cruz agrees with you." She squeezed my bicep and ran her hand over my pumped shoulders and chest. "Thanks, Sally, but why are you here?" She had the presence of mind to blush, since there really wasn't any good reason to meet with me. Our divorce was final, our kids were on their own, and she wasn't living in my house, so it couldn't be something mundane like a burst water pipe. Jim, I'm going to be honest. I made the worst mistake of my life with Teddy. It wasn't love, it was lust, and once we scratched our teeth, we quickly lost interest in each other. It wasn't long before I found myself longing for our marriage and wanting you back. I berated myself for what I had done to us. So I came here to find out what I need to do to become your wife again. I opened the car door and signaled to the porter who began loading my luggage, then turned to Sally again. "Easy, hon. Turn into her." Sally turned to follow my gaze. The striking olive-skinned beauty was walking toward us, her tight-knit blouse doing nothing to hide her large but firm breasts, and her long, skinny legs strutted out in a perfect model's gait, swaying her hips as she continued to approach in her stylish, high-heeled sandals. "Of course," Sally giggled. "All I need to do is lose 25 pounds in 10 years and then get an Italian craftsman and a $1,000 pair of shoes." Okay, very funny. She's gorgeous, no argument. But I can't turn into her, so dream on. No need to dream, Sally. I wake up with her every day. I want you to meet my new wife, Anna Maria Diorio, recently arrived from Tuscany, Italy. We met and married on a cruise. Sally's face drooped. She had nothing more to say. She congratulated Anna Maria and hugged them both. She cried and confessed to both of us that she had hoped to throw herself on my mercy and remake our life together. Anna Maria hugged her and comforted her. She told Sally that she would always welcome her into our lives and apologized for the shock our announcement had caused her. Sally apologized to me for making this mess, then congratulated Anna Maria and left. Sally became a frequent visitor to our home. She became as good a grandmother as she was a mother, and with my new wife, they became very close friends. She didn't date and made it clear that attempts to set her up with guys were unwelcome. Teddy provided for Sally, which was fair enough since he seduced her, depriving her of a cozy home and a good provider. She seems to be doing well, content, but every now and then I see regret in her eyes. Next week is Sally's 50th birthday, and Anna Maria was upset that we weren't giving her an amazing gift. She's been shopping all day and just got home. I know it's her because she picked up a Dino. Sexy Italian girls deserve sexy Italian cars, so she says. Hi, sweetie, I'm glad you're home. Oh, shit. Where have I heard that before? Strike one. I came up with the perfect gift. You can't buy it, so it's not expensive. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Strike two. I know, nothing bad has happened yet. It's just a hunch. Sally is so lonely, I think we should share you, at least on her birthday, but maybe more often. You should pay her a conjugal visit. Come to her and make love to her like you used to. She'll be so happy, and I'm sure you won't mind spending a night or two with another woman. In fact, I've always dreamed of a threesome while sailing. What do you say? Oh shit, fuck no. I ran away from that marriage, back to the worst sex in history, even for one night. Even as part of a threesome with my incredibly beautiful and extremely attractive second wife? Hell no. Strike three. I'm out.